Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. It ain't your boy, it's your man's. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again. Asking you to hit that share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So I'll make this as quick as I possibly can. Here's the deal. Last one I said that I was going to tell you in this recording why I'm advocating SYSBM and passports as, which is a form of retreat, as some sort of winning war strategy. So here it goes. First thing you need to know about human conflict, and if you've been a teacher, you've seen this, is that people do not pick conflicts that they don't think they can win. And so there are people that are bullies that go actively looking for conflicts they can win. And then there are people that are just kind and nice and they're not aggressive and they don't go looking for conflicts at all, whether they can win or they can lose. Two types. You don't have people going around looking for conflicts, starting fights that they don't see a way to win. Just not doing it. So when you start off a new school year as a teacher, you know who started a fight based on who's bigger. Later on, you can learn where the exceptions are. But for the most part, you learn that, the bigger one is the one that usually started the fight. And then as time goes on, you see who are the small kids that'll still pick fights because they think they can win even if the guy's big, and who are the bigger ones that don't pick fights. And so but at the beginning of the school year when they don't know each other, yeah, that's easy. They don't know each other. You don't know them, they don't know you, but you know that this about human conflict, the very beginning, when you have the first few fights, you'll know right off the bat, hey, look, I know who started this one. How you know? Because I know human beings, I know how to read them. And you'll be right, and the kids will realize, oh, this teacher know who started fights. Can't fight in their class. It's similar when you get into the macro scale, when you start going into war. For the most part, groups of people that are underarmed don't go picking fights with people that are better armed or that outnumber them, or both. Italy did not start the fight with Germany. Italy started a fight with Ethiopia. They got their butts handed to them because Ethiopians fought every which way. The conventional army and the guerrilla armies worked together, and Ethiopia, with its history of tribal divisions, united against foreign aggression more than once. That's one of the things that Ethiopians do a lot. They don't all like each other. They don't even all speak the same languages. Come from the outside and start messing with them. All of them are going to gang up on you. They will deal with their internal beefs without your help. Thank you very much. So I give them credit for that. Nonetheless, what I'm saying is that we saw how Italy started that, because they had mustard gas and the Ethiopians didn't. Later on, the Ethiopians had allies that gave them weapons, and they had guerrilla tactics, and so there's no way the Italians could win. That being said, people will say that there is no right and wrong in war. And, C Boogie knows more about war than I do, and I don't know how much he knows. I don't know what his role was in the military, but he knows more about war than I do. I know about war what the military historians have said, like Sun Tzu, who was a general, a winning general. So I'm not talking like a first-hand expert. I'm telling you what the other experts have pointed out, for the most part. Guerrilla tactics, not Gorilla. I'm not talking about King Kong or my avatar, but guerrilla tactics, Guerilla, tend to work when they tend to even out the playing field. They grant power to a smaller army. You are not required, when someone else starts a war with you and you weren't wrong to begin with, you're not in the wrong morally speaking, you're not required to fight a war that they can win on their terms. You are required, actually, to even out the playing field in your favor by using the land and any other available resources at your disposal and attacking them when you're ready and they're not. Simple. But here's the thing. Why is retreat such a good tactic to use? Here's why. If you are a guerrilla army fighting against a more conventional army, you attack their locations when they don't expect it. You go in, you do some damage, you do some raids, then you flee. You don't even have to take some prisoners if you don't have the means to feed them. But you go in and then you flee. Now, when you flee, there are two things you do. Either you are not pursued, you go to wherever you want to go. Or you are pursued, you already have arranged an ambush location. So that if you are pursued, you run through that ambush location, you send a signal ahead of yourself to your own men waiting at the ambush, we're about to come in here and help you out. We're coming up the hillsides, now we're being pursued. And then when you're pursuing enemies come up that trail, what do? Pop, 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 pop. You pick them off a second time because they should not have retaliated in order to take you out for the first time. Because remember, if you're morally right, you have every moral right to punish them every time they retaliate for you whooping that behind. So that means that the first butt whooping you gave them was what they deserve. They try to retaliate. You got another punishment just because they retaliated. You teach them that wrong don't win. Now, how do you translate that into this? And why am I advocating this retreat when you can get your passport and you got your funds set up and you can get off to a good start elsewhere? Why am I advocating you do that instead of so-called staying and taking care of the comroonity over here, like Boom Shika and Bertha want you to do? Here's why. Number one, they tell you to stay and don't go anywhere and take care of the community. Their goons and their mandingos tell you the same thing. Okay, that right there tells you, see, like I said, already the ones that are trying to screw other men and have their babies and then pass these babies off for you to raise, either by deception or by shame, are your enemies. They may not even hate you, but to a certain extent, they're an enemy because they're trying to tell you that you should look for these kinds of things because you're a real man. They're the same ones that tell you you should love this gut and you should love these extra years on me and these wrinkles. And you know what? There are guys that actually naturally don't mind these things, but they're telling you that you should while they're insecure about them. So the same things about which they're insecure are the things they're telling you that you should, if you're a real man, look for in them. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're supposed to be Superman for Lois Lane and a double-sized Lois Lane on top of that. Supersized Lois Lane. That's your enemy. So what they tell you to do, you don't do. What they tell you not to do, you may not do, but you at least look and see what you could get out of it. What are they hiding? You damn sure don't do what they tell you to do. They told you to stay and fight and fix their mess. Don't do it. That's the first thing. So you don't stay. But see, the thing is that the enemy that they got it from has another community that's right there at your disposal. You can't take that either. That's quicksand. I already told you. White America is full of traps for non-white people. And you're not only non-white in my audience, most of you are black. With a capital B and 4 A's in the middle, black. So the quicksands and the traps are extra sensitive to you. And I straight told you, Becky is not better. She's nicer in the short run. She hell on wheels in the long run. I told you that. And Umar Johnson was right about one thing. When they get that phone call from their people, whoever that is, to come do you harm for the interest of the rest of their people, they're going to do it, even if they've had kids with you. They don't fivaguk, because remember, you were brought to the Americas to bear burdens. So even if you made money and got you that white woman and y'all had kids together, when she gets that phone call or she gets that wake-up call, she's still going to, what she's going to try to do, she's going to bounce and understand that she already knows she can't go back to a white man to take care of her. She can't go back to white men and marry them. No, she can't do that. So what does she have to do? She has to take as much out of you as she is leaving on her exit. And she will. She'll do that worse than a sister would in court, because her family will help her with that. Oh, you need some attorney's fees? Yeah, no, okay, we got that. Now, they might not be able to, to make up for, they probably can't match half of your wealth right off the bat, depending on how long you've been saving it. You get the idea. I'm saying that the communities that are available to you, the black and the white American communities, are both quicksands, they're traps. And despite your sex appeal in the white community, you are still a commodity. So you got two enemies. So what do? Well, the hit and run tactics in the meantime, the hit tactic is that you go tit for tat. All the standards that you got to meet, you get to have for them to meet as well, too. That's going to eliminate most of them. You're going to be by yourself. But there are other, non-Americans, non-Western ladies that are living in these Western countries. And you know what? You can try marriage on for size. I mean, I'm only allowed to promote marriage anyway. You can try a marriage on for size, preferably a non-state recognized one, but you could try marriage on for size for a few years. You could do so. Here's why I mention it. In most states, you got to be married for more than 5 years before you're eligible to be on the hook for alimony, spousal support, that kind of thing. But 5 years of legal residency in the country makes them eligible for citizenship. If they've already been living there, then they only may have 2 or 3 years left, as an example. When they become eligible for citizenship because they've lived there long enough and learned enough of the history and the language, and they take the test and they pass, you have only invested 2 or 3 years or 5 at the most, right? Before they got the passport, and then you get to see their true colors because they can afford to show them. If they act a fool as soon as they get the passport and the citizenship, okay, well, you only lost, and anyway, you milked it for all it was worth in that time. Okay, so if they change, you bounce. If they don't change, you can stick around. It's up to, it's between y'all. You'll know what to do. So you have that ammo with which to hit back with the same standards. That's the first thing. But what happens when you get the money and the passport and you're ready to bounce? Why do I advocate this retreat? Here's why. First, you retreat, meaning you go somewhere else to a better place, a more peaceful area. But you have to set the ambush up for when you are pursued. You're not going to be physically pursued. You're going to be digitally pursued. What happens when you're digitally pursued? You go there, you're in person, face to face, right? You got your business or whatever you're starting off. You can look at whoever you want to start your family life off with, but you're also going to make buddies out of the men that are there if y'all can communicate. And in many of these places, you can communicate, a lot of English speakers. So let's say you choose the Southern Philippines as an example. You're going to have some buddies there that are from there. Y'all can communicate. And you let these dudes know, look, when I left behind, Ratchet Isha and Boom Shika, Bon Quisha, Big Bertha, and Sapphire. And Becky and Amber too, left them behind. They got attitude problems. They're running a lot of us men away. You probably met other guys like me, they ran off. Understand this. If your sister, aunt, niece, daughter, any of them, cousins, go into these chat rooms and they get these ideas from over there, they're not getting them from the ones who are happily married, and it's not who's in these chat rooms. They're getting them from the ones that ran us off, and they're mad because we ran. That's what that is. So if they start to talk about, women being treated better, being treated at least fairly, that's cool. But listen, because when they go past that and start talking about special rights and privileges and the patriarchy and y'all have been doing us wrong all this time, when they start going into that, that's when you say, hold up, slow your roll. If we have to pay the cost, which you're going to hold us accountable to do, then we are the boss. So you shuck up about that mess. Because you're not talking about paying the cost. You're just talking about you get to be the boss. That's what a kid would do. You let them know right off the bat, don't bring that mess here. And why do I say this? Because you are then setting up the ambush point. They're going to turn around. And if they take your advice, they're going to talk to their relatives, and they're going to say, if you getting this stuff from these chat rooms, let me tell you something from someone that came from that environment. These are not the ones you want to listen to because they're not happy. They're running the men off, and the men are gone. And they're bitter bees, and I don't mean the insects either. Now, when they tell this to her, if it's preemptive enough and proactive enough, then when they go back into these rooms, pretty soon, these few ratchets that are already digitally pursuing us abroad, because they do exist, but the few and far in between that they're going to run into a brick wall. What is that brick wall? The snipers at the ambush point. In other words, you are informing the local population where you are of what you left behind and who's pursuing you digitally. So when they continue this again, they're going to be met with the bullets. In other words, Ratchet Isha from Iowa sitting down at her computer waiting until it's a decent hour in the Southern Philippines, and she goes in on one of these chat rooms and starts preaching that stuff and probably even uses Google Translate. Okay, cool. Now, the lady in the Southern Philippines who's in the chat room chilling, talking in what whatever language some of her friends, Cebuano, or take your pick. She's talking with them, and then in jumps in Yankisha, the Yankee woman, or Western Isha. Mind you, I'm not even talking about the good women in the West. They're not even a part of this equation. They're not doing anything, good or bad. They're dealing with their own lives and their own families, But the ones that got time today, you know who that is, the wicked witches of the West, where they're going to be in a chat room. And when she starts talking that mess, the other ones will have already heard what's going on, and they'll know, oh, okay, so you one of them bitter bees. You flipped the game on them. Oh, so you one of them bitter bees that ran these men off. You probably got your hair dyed purple too, huh? Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, so let me guess. You've been sitting down eating bonbons all day, and you big as a house with purple hair, and you mad because don't no man won't be with you and take care of you. Okay, yeah. We straight over here. I mean, we don't run the show, but we don't have to pay the cost to be the boss either. So, yeah, you can miss us with that. See, now they're getting picked off. They digitally pursued you and they regret it. So what you have done is, number one, you have retaliated with simply the same standards that you have to meet, right? Or comparable. That's the first retaliation. They failed. You give someone else a shot. You leave, they pursue you, then they get picked off again. So because they tried to punish you for the first retaliation, when they were the ones in the wrong in the beginning, they then pursued you and then tried to retaliate against you for giving them what they deserved in the first place. Then they get picked off again for trying that mess again. So in other words, you were setting it up to where you who is right wins against the one who was wrong by employing this war strategy. The retreat is a tactic to win. It is not just, and you can do this right now because I know some of them can hear me talking. Neck rolling, finger snapping. They only make up about 2% of my audience, but neck rolling, finger snapping. And actually, you know what? They don't even make up 1% because most of the ladies that listen are the ones that have been silenced and frustrated by the wicked witches of the West. So it's only a few wicked witches of the West that are going to sit up and listen to me anyway. But with that small number that there must be, they probably you could be counted on two hands and a foot at the most. Well, what I'm saying is that this is so effective that even if they're listening to me right now and they're going to go and squawk to the rest of the others, this is what they've been talking about, you outnumber them. So if you turn around and you share this strategy, then there are going to be still far more men that know the strategy than there are going to be ladies that know the strategy. Especially wicked witches of the West that know this strategy. It's still effective. So even if they know what you're doing, it's still effective because those of you that are already abroad or that are about to leave, you're going to be in a position to, in person, face to face, tell your buddies from these areas to which you're going to go what the strategy is. You don't even have to tell them like it's a strategy. You just tell them the truth. And tell them to tell their lady relatives the truth. And their lady relatives will be inoculated against that which is going to make them unhappy in the long run. This is a win-win situation for the good men and the good women, to be honest with you. But you got to factor this in. So the question was posed to me mostly by matriarchs, gynocrats, their ma'am dingoes, and their goons. That's what the question was posed. But I'm answering it to you, to let you know what it is. They already know the tactical value that it serves. They understand. That's why they pursue you. They just don't know that I was about to tell you what you do when you go to these areas and how you prevent these areas from falling victim to the same thing. Because they, like I said before, they are trying their best to make sure that you don't have a place to go. By the way, that's not me. That's the wind blowing over a sign that's outside my window. But if that was me, it will be a lot louder and much more rumbly, and I'd be a hell of a lot more proud of it. But that old weak behind sound, that's the wind. So anyway, the tactic that you have to use, it's for one, like I said, you have to use it. You don't have a choice. It's not something you get to sit up and decide that you're going to use or not use. I just want you to understand that it is necessary because they've already started theirs. They're trying to set it up to where you got nowhere to run. You turn those places that they're trying to change into places into which they get shot down when they keep on trying to change them. They trying to change them from abroad at a distance, anywhere between 8 to 12 time zones away. You, because you're going to be there, you get to tell people face to face what's going on and let them know you need to let your younger relatives know about this. Because what we over here offering ain't a bad deal for them. They treat us well, we're going to treat them well. That's the thing that needs to be understood. Some people say, well, you're just going to these areas so you can take advantage of them, and you're not really going to treat them well. No, because see, if you really are that low life of a guy, you're probably not going to travel. If you're really that low life of a dude, you can stay stateside and do much better. Everybody knows that. I mean, hell, if you a dick, you could stay there. They'll love you. No, you got to deal with what you got to deal with because you're not a dick. And that's why it is you got to go somewhere else. So, yeah, you're just going to have to employ that strategy. You don't have a choice. And you got to employ it because you're not the type, usually those of you listening, you're not the type that's going to go over there and just mistreat them because you're not the type that's going to underappreciate them and take their kindness for weakness. You're looking for someone that's not going to take your kindness for weakness. There are such men that would do that, but I mean, chances are they don't even travel. They just fly somebody over to where they are and they got the home turf advantage and then they mistreat them. Most of you know far better than to go over there on their home turf and then irritate them like that. Because if they have a really good complaint, then they can put it in their own language to the authorities that you can't. Then you know you're at a disadvantage. You're not going to set yourself up like that. And you don't gain anything from it. You know that. They're the ones that are coming in with that BS. Oh, it's the boom shikas, the ratchet ishas, the yankishas. Oh, I'm a liberated Western woman, and you got that man over there, and I'm telling you now, he's just a loser. He couldn't get anybody over here. She's not going to tell you that it's because she's been socialized to take your kindness for weakness, and therefore, and she and everybody else were, and therefore the whole crop was polluted against you. And that when she right off the bat took one look at you and decided that you were only good for raising some other guy's kids. She's not going to say that. But you can in person tell her brother, if not her directly, you can tell her brother, look, man, this is what I left behind, and they about to try that mess over here, and that's going to mess things up for you and for her in the long run. So, let them know. You set that ambush point up like that and watch them get picked off as they try it. Trying to pursue you digitally and getting shot down digitally. I hope that it doesn't come to that, but you know what? If you don't prepare for it and they do, it will come to that. So hopefully you will make this message wrong and useless in the future. Hopefully. Until that point, I hope this benefits you. Thanks for listening. Your man's, not your boy, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual fat, bald, broke male power just because they don't like it.